this is a phone call between IDF and Gaza, someone who lives in Gaza, and they're talking about how the person from Gaza is talking about how the Hamas controls all the aid and all the services, and so these
so for people who don't,
so these two are having a phone call and it's been recorded.
Right. So for people who don't know, IDF calls inside Gaza to try to warn people to get out of the, like warning them that this area is going, this is going to happen, that's going to happen, like get out of the way, like make sure you're not in this area. So they have a lot of Arab speaking IDF soldiers that constantly tries to call within Gaza to give them the information they need to keep themselves safe or get access to food or medicine or whatever. So that's something that the Israeli military does. So this is one of those calls that we're listening to the recording of it. So let's see what happened here. Again, I have to come really close to be able to read that. So this is the Gazan resident speaking, saying the situation is terrible. So the IDF soldier is saying, I understand the situation is terrible.
فاهم إنه الوضع مزري. أنا فاهم إنه الوضع مزري.
The Gazan resident says the situation is terrible. And then he said the Gazan resident says because the humanitarian people, those responsible for the humanitarian aid, are thieves. Okay. Again, this is a Gazan resident saying this to the IDF soldier. And then the IDF soldier officer asks, sorry, I said soldier, I should have said officer. The IDF officer asks, why are they thieves?
ليش المساعدات حرامية؟ يعني في هناك عناصر.
And the IDF officer says, are Hamas operatives taking the food from the humanitarian services?
حماس اللي عم ياخذوا من هذا الأكل من المساعدات.
The Gazan resident responds, of course. Whenever Hamas goes, wherever Hamas goes, total destruction follows.
وين حماس وين موجودة وين بتكون موجودة بتخرب.
بس
So the IDF officer responds, but this place is for humanitarian purposes.
هذا المكان هو للمساعدات الإنسانية يعني.
And then the IDF officer continues saying they must give the food to civilians.
يجب عليهم إعطاء الغذاء إلى المدنيين. شو دخل حماس؟
IDF officer continues, what is Hamas connection to it? I think connection to Hamas's connection. Like, so you say Hamas shouldn't even be involved in this humanitarian relief. Why is Hamas even there? I think that's what the Gazan resident saying, what is Hamas? What is Hamas, my brother? Hamas is involved in everything. It's best you know. Hamas has their hands on UNRWA administration workers, and it manages UNRWA. So basically, I think he's saying that the whole humanitarian process in Gaza, Hamas is managing.
على موظفين الوكالة هم القيادات في رئاسة الوكالة هم.
They are those in charge in this agency.
المسؤولين في الجمعيات هم المسؤولين.
And those in charge everywhere else. They rose to power. They took control of everything. Then the IDF officer says, as in they do not provide food to civilians. So the Gazan resident says they provide for their people first. Oh, so they get the food, they give it to Hamas members. IDF officer says, do you speak with the agency, like the UNRWA, and tell them these things? Like, do you go tell them these things?
وانتم يعني جربتم تحكوا مع الوكالة وتقولوا لهم هذا الشيء يعني
IDF officer continues, you mean those in charge in the agency, like not the people on the ground. Like, do you like report the fact that Hamas is doing this to the top officials in the agency? The Gazan resident says, who could you speak with? What I'm telling you right now is unknown. No one knows about it. And then the officer says, in charge of the agency, agency cooperate with Hamas. The administration, so the Gazan resident is saying, the administration workers in the agency are Hamas operatives. So I think he's saying like even the people up top are Hamas. So like those in, so the officer saying those in charge of the agency cooperate with Hamas. The Gazan resident says absolutely yes. So he's saying even the people at the top, like who do I complain to? They are the ones who are cooperating with Hamas. Those who control. So the Gazan resident is saying those that is those in charge of the departments or the regional headquarters of the agency. All right. Are Hamas operatives themselves. Oh, they're not just cooperating with Hamas. They themselves are the Hamas operatives themselves. Okay, so that was interesting. By the way, this is not denied anymore. Like this is like even anti-Israel humanitarian groups are admitting that this is what's happening in Gaza. Go on, Anna.
Well, what is actually striking in this recording, the UNRWA, like here in Israel, we just call it UNRWA. This humanitarian organization is a humanitarian organization from the UN, from the United Nations, and it is only tasked with the help to Palestinian refugees. Like this is their humanitarian organizations from the UN, from the United Nations. So even if any aid is coming to Gaza Strip, it must come through this organization. So basically, it means that every aid coming in is Hamas has its hand on it. Even the United Nations are corrupted with the involvement of Hamas.
And
Rivka?
there have been some reports and videos and pictures of like UNRWA schools, funded schools, and they have weapons, UNRWA teachers that work for the Hamas, in some other infrastructure positions that any society would have, also supposedly the UNRWA funded or UNRWA associated with, that are either working for Hamas or are the Hamas. So this is a big issue that is really coming out now, especially now that IDF is finding tunnels and finding weapon stores, and they finding even UNRWA documents or UNRWA funded areas, people who work for them. So it's absolutely the case. And this is something that Israel and other Zionists in the world have been saying for a long time, that they're, and also this extreme, it seems from my point of view, bias at the UN against Israel, almost like an obsession with Israel.
Also, before this war, I read an article about the schools in Gaza that are managed by this organization, and even in those schools they teach a jihadistic ideology and anti-Semitic things, anti-Semitic materials. So basically, Hamas, his hands are involved in everything. Right. Including like the organizations that are supposedly there to help Palestinians. They are not really independent from Hamas.
Right.
And this is
so, guys. So Elliot, say this
30 seconds.
Because,
yeah. This is just what makes it so difficult whenever people are talking about sending aid to Palestinians, sending aid to Gaza. The issue is that it is a known fact that not 10% is going to be skimmed off the top. 95% of it is going to go immediately into the hands of Hamas leaders to cushion themselves more, to give themselves lavish lifestyles while the rest of their people suffer. We know that. And so simply saying, let's just bring more aid to Gaza doesn't help Palestinians. We need more nuanced solutions. So just stop thinking it's an easy fix. Oh yeah, just send them food, just send them money. No, Hamas is going to steal it and they're going to use it to kill more Israeli civilians. So not a good answer.
Okay. And if you want to, there are independent organizations. I actually live in a town where one of the guys who started one of the independent organizations, that's a medical, I went to college with him. He's American, not Palestinian. So if you do want to send aid, you have to really do some research and find an independent organization that the money is actually going to people.
And a lot of times when people talk about atrocities committed by Israel, they say, oh, Israel is bombing hospitals in Gaza, it's bombing schools in Gaza. But they don't say that Hamas is hiding their military supplies and tunnels underneath those schools and hospitals and are hiding within the civilian population. So, doing this thing, criticizing Israel for bombing hospitals without saying that Hamas purposefully uses hospitals as a cover, I think this is anti-Semitic.
Well, also,
great point.
To this point, also, a lot of the alleged atrocities are actually blood libel lies. Stealing organs and all these things, which are a lot of them directly from some of anti-Semitic tropes that people have been saying for years and years. But that good point, Anna.